Welcome back to the Balance Boldly podcast for ambitious women in business and a few brave men. I'm your host, Naketa Ren Thigpen. As always, I am so honored that each and every one of you, last count, we were well over 20,000 of you listening to this show every single week. I'm honored and I'm humbled. And I thank you so much for showing up and showing out, because many of you are doing what I ask at the end of every episode, is sharing with at least one person that you know could benefit from listening to whatever it was that we provided you in that particular episode. So thank you, and thank you again, especially at the time that you are listening to this show in National Women's History Month. Whoop, whoop. I mean, little biased here with all of my estrogen, but just saying, very grateful. Today, I have the privilege and honor of having this phenomenal woman who I would consider a little like royalty in how she is shaking up the game. Okay. So she has taken her brilliance into a very established and credible organization and added her value to let them know how beautiful it can be when you allow someone with so much brilliance and beauty and the humility to know when and when not to give you more than you can handle to help shake up your world and take you to the next level. Today, we have Miss Karen Edwards. She is a editorial director and expansion spearhead over at BrainQuest, doing her thing, no doubt, making sure that the brand that had its own population of followers can now literally go out into the ether and get the next generation of readers and parents and little people who will grow up to be purchasers again. Karen, welcome to the BBP. How are you today?
I'm fine, Naketa. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
We are excited to have you. You've been doing some incredible work over at BrainQuest. They were already at 56 million copies of books before you came in, and you were like, I'm going to shake things up. And you brought in your gift as, I believe it was senior editor. What did that journey look like for you?
Well, when I joined Workman, I was senior editor working on their educational products, BrainQuest being, the major brand. Mm-hmm. And I was tasked with expanding that brand and refreshing it. And as you mentioned, just moving it to a new audience of people so that we can we can just keep it fresh, vibrant, evergreen. My personal goal was to connect with children from the very earliest stage and then partner with them throughout their entire educational journey until they graduated from high school. And that's a huge undertaking. And Workman, with the BrainQuest brand, already had pre-kindergarten through middle school pretty much on lock. Mm-hmm. And so it was a natural progression to kind of move to the younger audience where we can set the foundation for, the concepts that they would meet in kindergarten and instill a joy of learning, a love of learning that they can carry with them through this long journey they had from pre-K, through high school.
I love that you were able to do that without losing focus on part of I'll just use the word joy of what parents had come to know and anticipate. Because, middle schoolers and high schoolers, a whole different type of human, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
What do you feel for what you were bringing from your own personal expertise and just all of the dynamic that you brought in as an individual potent human to BrainQuest? How did you help them do that expansion without losing the culture that they have? And obviously you're adding to it, you're increasing it, you're making it more whole on so many levels. But sometimes when we make expansions of something that already exists, you lose a lot of your clients, right? Because, nope, you guys are doing something different. You can't possibly give me all of the energy because now you're tapping into another segment of people. Like, how did that work for you guys behind the scenes?
Well, I think we had to identify and communicate our mission. And our mission is to support learners and their families throughout the educational journey. We are supposed to reinforce what their classroom experience is. And so we don't want to compromise what we do. And so what I had to do was show that this new expansion would be just as educationally sound, even though we were talking to kids who were not yet in school. But we had to show that there was research behind it. We had these books vetted by experts in the field, experts in early literacy education and experts in early learning, so that we can show these parents, yes, this is a new arena that we're in, but we're taking all of those 30 years that we had of experience in how to communicate with learners, how to provide them with the fundamentals they need in a fun, engaging way. So just being true to what you believe, being true to your mission, being true to the personal mission as well, is what helps us to kind of like expand without diluting what we already have, or kind of shifting our focus in a way that damages an already established brand.
No, I love that. You said two things that stuck out for me. One, I intuited from what you said, and one you actually said. What I heard you break down was you are not trying, as in representing of the company, of course, are not trying to convince your difference, but you're conveying it through your communication and the way that you show up and honoring what your mission has always been. And although the colors may be brighter and have more variation in, the pastels of opportunity that you give to now the high schoolers, a new generation, a new version of that part of the life cycle that they're in, it doesn't change the overall high level 30,000 foot, I can't talk, mission of where you are, which I stand for completely. I believe that anytime you have something amazing, you never have to convince. It's just conveying and exactly. And your messaging is definitely on point. There's no question there. You're welcome. And the other thing I heard you say was about the fun, which is super important with the little people, right?
It's critical. Yes. When you're teaching kids, I mean, they have such a long journey ahead of them, pre-K through high school, and it has its challenging moments. What you need to do is establish early and establish often that it's the fun of learning that's going to carry you through. You're always learning, whether you're in a classroom or not. We make it engaging, we make it fun, we make it accessible, and we make it reflect our audience. And once you have that foundation, then you go in with a different mindset as a student, and you kind of have this particular area might not be joyful. I mean, you might be stuck in fractions and you might think there's no joy in fractions.
That part.
But you know that as a whole, learning is something that benefits you and that engages you and makes you a better, more well-rounded person.
Yeah, I love that. And especially, so on the other side of the curtain, there's, on the front side, on the stage side, if you will, if you think about the performance of what businesses have to do, you are showing your best self when you're in front of the curtain. You're showing the best books. You're giving the fun through the material to the children. But you guys are also doing something different. I will say, thanks to you and some of the differences of value add that you bring to the company behind the curtain, you're also having fun and you're making sure you build the team. Do you want to share a little bit about how important that is?
It is important that your team share your vision, because again, that will get you through the difficult times, and that we have fun. We spend so much time building these books, and if we're having fun behind the curtain, that's going to translate in front of the curtain. We need to make sure that there's joy on the page. We need to make sure that visually there's joy, there's representation in our illustrations. We need to make sure that the text is bouncy and full of fun. And that can't come from a team that is not feeling fun, that is not, feeling valued, that doesn't feel connected to what they're doing. And that's one of the great things about a team. Everyone is different. Everyone brings different experience, and everyone is valued, and it's highly collaborative. And so when you feel valued, when you see that how your unique vision and your unique talents help move along this major project, then, there's no way you can not have fun.
You said a whole sermon, especially in that latter part, like when you believe in the possibility of what you can do and you put it into action and you basically you preach and sell what you actually are doing and not the other way around. It makes a huge difference. And I truly feel today's consumers can see right through when people aren't being reflective of that, when everything looks so polished on the front and there's no clear indication that the people behind the curtain, to go back to that kind of metaphor, are being acknowledged for their work, are being integrated in a way that they actually like showing up to work every day.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's being acknowledged and being seen and valued that gets you through, that gets you up in the morning.
Honey, that's so you may or may not know, Karen, I work with a lot of power couples and what we call potent humans, which are women entrepreneurs, visionaries, designers of different sorts, engineers, all the things. They show up and reflect everything that they're putting in. And a lot of the things that come up constantly are what I call shaving. And the acronym is SHAVED with a D at the end. It's a little weird of an acronym, but it's just the way that I remember things. And it's a constant that we come back to when people feel like they've lost their GPS of themselves, when they just don't feel like they're in integrity to being the best version of themselves and self-actualizing. And you hit on at least 2, if not 3 of the acronym, which is seen, heard, appreciated, validated, edified, and desired. And
I love that.
Right? And you hit, like you made me think of it because you hit on it, of how important it is for the team behind the curtains that's producing, creating, integrating, elevating something, as also so they can see where they have a gap and invite other people in, like how you came in and shook things up 4 or 5 years ago over at BrainQuest when you first entered in, I think around 2017, 2018.
2018, yes.
Right?
Yes, yeah.
Professional stalker. I was paying attention. She's looking at me like, why do you know that? I'm trying to tell you, I do my homework. And then also expanding that out to really enrich your, in your case, your customer base versus client. I say clients, but your consumer base, and really help them be lifelong clients, because now they pass that down. That's incredible. It's beautiful, but it's also necessary. And I don't think a lot of people get that when they're jumping into a business, whether they're working in an established brand and trying to add their value and their difference the way you did, or whether they're creating something for themselves. It's important to not look at it from a sprint and look at it as the marathon of where you're taking your people.
Absolutely. It'll get you through the tough times.
On so many levels. So I have to ask you, when you are not up-leveling your team, having fun, doing all this integration, expansion, and creation on the next level, and PR tours, by the way, like in the middle of all of this, how are you giving yourself permission to pause?
I know that in order for me to give my best, I need downtime, and I want my team to do what I do. I don't want to, provide lip service to what downtime is, and then they see me working late nights and weekends, because then they're going to do the same. So I need to set an example, but more than that, I need to value myself. I need to value where the creativity is coming from. And creativity comes from a place that is balanced, that is well rested, that is confident. And you can't do that when you're burned out. So I give myself permission to pause, because I know I need that in order to continue creating. So I carve out time commuting to work and listen to audiobooks. I love to read. I love to cook. I love to, interact with my family and my dogs. And I've tried to take up running, gave it up, but I will try again. But it's just finding something that feeds you in a different way so that you can continue to feed your passion, and your clients or your customer base will benefit from that in the long run.
I love it. I really am trying. I'm holding my hands to not reach for my maracas and shake them.
Shake those maracas.
Right? Like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. The editor will be mad. He's always like, they're so loud. Stop it. The editor is my husband, by the way. So that part, but there's a way to quell that on the back end. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to show up for us. How can people connect with you, find out more information about BrainQuest, and if they have questions about the process, how they can do the expansion process yourself, where can they go?
Sure. Well, first of all, the BrainQuest board books, they're a series of 6. They make a great first library for kids. You can find out all about BrainQuest at brainquest.com, or follow us on our socials at BrainQuest. That's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, the whole shebang. Mm-hmm. You can reach out to me at my work address, karen.edwards@hbgusa.com. I'm happy to answer any questions. And you can pick up the My First BrainQuest book and all of our BrainQuest products wherever books are sold, and again at brainquest.com.
I love that. And every single thing you said will be down in the show notes. So
I appreciate that.
You got it. People listening on the Peloton while they're feeding the babies, all the things in between to make sure that they have no reason not to get that. We thank you so much for showing up and showing up.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was a wonderful meeting and speaking with you.
Same. Balance Boldly listeners, you know the drill. And if you're new to the BBP, here's the thing. I always ask you to take 2. I know people say do 1, but 2 call to actions. The first is the most important way to honor me, which is to share this episode with at least one person in your ecosystem that who can benefit from everything that was talked about today. If they're a parent with little people, if they are a G parent like I am with little toddler grandbabies, make sure you share it. Go a little step further and honestly buy that series and get their library started if they haven't thought of that. You don't have to buy the G.I. Joe, the dinosaur, or the Barbie doll. You can always get some books. I know my grandbabies are going to love/hate me because they always get a book for every single occasion. So make sure you do that. That's first. And the second, I have to ask you, as always, be a reflection of what you are integrating, what you are pulling in. Don't let this just be another feel-good moment. Yes, that permission to pause that Karen gave me was right up my alley. It's exactly what I need and why I need it. I need you to do it. So enjoy the balance of your day, but do it boldly.